Hey, hi, hello, and welcome. I am Court. This is Reading with Court, and we are here to talk about the hardest reading challenge you will ever do. Now, I am not the first creator to talk about this, and I'm sure I won't be the last, but this is a reading challenge that spans from technically July 7th, 2025 to July 6th, 2026, I believe are the exact dates. But basically, you can do it whenever you want as long as you do it in a 1 year time frame. You cannot start early, you cannot end late. It has to be a 365-day challenge. Now, for me, I started this on July 1st of 2025 because the way that my, neurospicy brain works, I needed to start at the beginning of the month and end on June 30th of next year. So, what we're going to do today is I have my spreadsheet up and we are going to go through it together and see where I'm at, how I'm doing, what my thoughts are, any plans that I have. Because that's the thing, like a lot of people have planned this challenge out like to the letter. I'm not that person. I have some things that like I won't come across it naturally in my reading. So those I've put some ideas for, but for the most part, we are here to just go on vibes. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the spreadsheet. So here you can see is like the bingo board of all of the challenges that are a part of this. So we have by the hundreds, 24-hour readathon, subgenres of choice, series staircase, award season, TBR game challenge, the last 10 years, all the adaptations, disability rep challenge, heritage month challenge, translation challenge, around the world, the even bigger rainbow, make a quote challenge, spooky creatures, become the avatar, complete any readathon, animals are better, queer alphabet round 2, favorite hrcyed 1 prompt, BIPOC challenge, extended new release challenge, challenge yourself, nonfiction challenge, and Q's reviews and recs. Now, Q is the creator of this challenge, and spending a day in her mind would be fascinating because the fact that she came up with all of this is mwah. All right, let's jump in. So here's the tracker. These are the books that I have read for the challenge so far. So as you can see, I have read, I think there's 15 on here, and I've completed 14 because this right here is my current read at the time of filming. So I try to, when I start reading a book, figure out where I want to put it. And yeah, so I've got 14, I think math is hard, whatever. I've got this many books read, distributed amongst these prompts, and we will go into that in further detail as we move forward in the spreadsheet. Here are some basic statistics. I've read 14 books for the challenge because the 15 is including my current read. 5,008 pages, 0 hours. My average rating is 4.36. I've earned 136 points. So just some basic stats that really, they'll be part of my wrap up when I make that video. So here we have the prompts I've done so far. I've done the most work for the even bigger rainbow and the spooky creatures prompts. And I've done, well, there's a bunch that I've done 0 for, but I've done the least for new release, avatar, heritage months, award season, and translations. Up here, you can see I've read 4 books that take place in the United States, or 4 might be Japan. Japan and the United States are my biggest currently because I was reading a lot of manga that very obviously take place in Japan and Tokyo as opposed to some mysterious fantasy world. I've read a little bit from Australia, and I'm currently reading a book from the UK. When it comes to the states, as you can see here, I've read 1 from New Jersey and 1 from Wyoming. Publishing stats, I'm not the best at tracking this, so I will fully admit these are probably not that accurate. Here we have the different genres. I have mostly read contemporary romance so far, with some romantasy, historical romance, horror thriller, fantasy romance, which I'm not sure what the difference is or why I tagged those the way I tagged them, but I'm not that worried about the specific genres. Paranormal romance and dystopian fantasy. For means, I have read 60% ebook, 13.3% paperback, and 26.7% hardcover. For books that are part of a series, 40% of the series books I read were me starting a series. 20% were me finishing the series. 33.3% are me just being in progress. And 6.7% are me completing a series up to current publication. New versus reread, the obvious stat. Every single book that I have read for this challenge has been a new to me read, which is great because, as you'll see on the next slide, I have a lot of points that I could use for rereads, but I am trying not to unless I absolutely have to. Cover colors, which I'm only tracking because I need it for the rainbow. 86.7% of the books I have read have been adult, and 13.3% have been young adult. So I think that's pretty cool because I used to be more of a young adult reader, and I'm glad that I'm kind of moving up. 4 of the books that I've read have been new releases, come out in 2025. And funny enough, the second one that is tied for that is 2019 for also 4 books. My most read author is Kanetsu Yamada, who is the author of the manga series that I've been reading. So obviously I binged 4 volumes of that. So there's obviously, evidence of that being a high one. But the other author that I have repeated so far is Darcy Coates. And that is because a couple weeks ago, I went through just starting the Gravekeeper series, read 2 books in 2 days, and there you have it. Here are the points, because in hrcyed, you can earn points to do different things. You can count a reread, count a DNF, use a book for 3 prompts instead of 2, and short a prompt by 1. So for example, if I need 5 things for a prompt, I can make it down to 6 or make it down to 4. I have 136 points right now. So I could technically do some rereads because those are worth 50 points. However, I'm trying to save all my points for the triple ups because I don't read as much in a year as some people. And there's some books I have that could count for more than 1 or more than 2 things. So I would like to try using those triple ups as much as I can. So now we're going to go into the different prompts and see where I'm at, how I'm doing, how close I am to some of these prompts. And yeah. So for By the Hundreds, I have 2 books read because this is something like, other than the 100-page one, I think this is something I will just come across naturally in my reading. But for 200, I have volume 1 of Sweat and Soap. And for 500 to 599, I have The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. And then for planning, the only thing I've said is maybe I'll read the next Crescent City books for this. 24-hour readathon I have not done yet. I might do this next week, actually, because I have 3 days where including a weekend, I have like 6 days. But I have 6 days where I don't have to be at work. I don't have responsibilities. So I'm probably going to try to do it one of those days and just be able to check something off. Subgenres of choice, I am doing romance. So the subgenres I have gone with are historical, cowboy, paranormal, fantasy, dark, and sports. So I have read for paranormal romance, I read Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. And for cowboy romance, I read Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. Now, as you can see, I have it written here. The current book I'm reading will be going in the historical romance spot. And then fantasy, dark, and sports, I will naturally come across as I read through the next year. Series staircase. So I have ideas for what I want to do. I'm not 100% sure if I'll do those or something else. But for my 4 or More series, I've been putting in the Gravekeeper series by Darcy Coates, as you can see with Whispering Dead and Ravenous Dead, books 1 and 2 of the 5-book series. So when I read book 3 and 4, those will fill in here, and that'll be part of this prompt completed. Now, award season, this one was a little tricky because some of the some of the book awards are either one, I'm not interested in because I feel like a lot of the ones that are publicized are all about lit fic, and I don't particularly like lit fic generally. I have to be in the mood for it, and it has to be a really good one. But I was able to combine the BookTube Prize and the Goodreads Choice Awards, and you have to have something at each level. So I have winners, I have finalists, semifinalists, and entrants. So for finalist, I have read Bride so far. And then as you can see, the books that I have planned. And when I last looked at the BookTube Prize, James was a semifinalist, but there's a very strong possibility that it will be moving up to finalist and winner in the BookTube Prize. So I've put a couple extra options down here that I could replace this with if I needed to. Then we have the TBR game challenge. Now, for those of you who have been here, you know that I have my own TBR game. But the point of this prompt is to play someone else's, play one that you haven't played. So I went with Snakes and TBR Stacks by Covers with Cassidy. And I got 5 rolls, 5 prompts, and I picked out books that go with those. Have I read any of them yet? Absolutely not. But they're on the list, they're picked out, and I will definitely get to them in the next year. Now, this is another one that I plan to come across naturally in my reading, which is why there's literally nothing planned. But this is the last 10 years. So I have to read books published between 2016 and 2026. So for 2019, I used A Volume of Sweat and Soap. And for 2022, I used The Serpent and the Wings of Night. So this is something that I'm not really thinking about too hard. It'll happen for sure. Adaptations. So this is you need to either watch or read the what was created by the book or read the book itself. You do not need to do both. But if you do both, you get bonus points, which you can then use for all the things that I showed you on the points page. I have not read anything for this, but I'm planning to watch Heartstopper on Netflix and maybe read the graphic novel, but I'm not sure because that would be a reread, and I don't really want to waste points on it. And then I have a lot of options here, except for web series and animation. I need to get into looking at those, but for movie, I'm probably going to watch The Hate U Give because I've been wanting to watch it for a while. Musical, I'm going to do Mean Girls because I have not watched that yet either. There's just a lot here that I can work with, and I'm excited to explore that when I get more time. Next is the disability challenge. For this, you need to have 5 different disabilities that you cannot repeat. So down here, it is something that I have planned because I could come across it naturally for sure, but I don't know. So these are all different books and what disabilities they represent so that I can get some progress done on this and also expand my reading because I would love to read more diversely, and this is a very good first step in doing that. Heritage months. So we have Disability Pride, Hispanic Heritage, Indigenous Heritage, Black History, Women's History, Arab Heritage, Jewish Heritage, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage, and LGBTQ plus Pride. So these are all books, or not books. These are all different months that recognize different groups of people. And the point is to read a book that either represents that culture or is written by an author who identifies with that culture. So I, so far, have only done Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and that is with Dating Dr. Dill, because the author is Indian and the book is very heavily influenced by the auntie culture of India. So I have some options of like Disability Month and a Pride Month that I wrote down, but I will get to these. My goal for the most part is to read them like in the month that they occur, because then you get bonus points. So in September, I'm going to be trying to read some books, at least one or two, for Hispanic Heritage Month so that I can get the bonus points. And because, you know, it makes sense to read books by like certain groups of people in the months when we are celebrating those people. Translation challenge. You need to read works that are translated from 5 different languages. First one that I have here is Japanese because I read a manga. And then down here, I have some other options. I learned that most of Fredrik Backman's works are translated from Swedish, so I wrote that. I can't use this one now, actually, so let me delete the row. The Shadow of the Wind is Spanish, Inkheart is German, The Little Prince is French, and The Master and Margarita is Russian. Now, I could find something besides those, but those are currently where I'm leaning because, not sadly, but translated fiction or nonfiction, either one, is not something that I really gravitate towards. Not intentionally, it just doesn't pop up on my radar. So I wanted to make sure I had options so that this doesn't fall to the wayside as I work on the challenge. For Around the World, the book either needs to take place in or be written by someone from the different continents. And so far, I have Asia with Sweat and Soap and Australia with The Whispering Dead, because I think it takes place in Australia, but even if it doesn't, Darcy Coates is Australian. So I'm hoping to get the rest of these done, and it's another one that'll just come naturally. For the Even Bigger Rainbow, so you need to cover all of these color categories, and the book needs to have at least 50% of that color. So I've done red, orange, black, and white, and I plan to get more of these easily as the year goes on, because the covers out there are very colorful, and we'll see where I go. Up next, we have Make a Quote, and I chose a quote from Yoda, do or do not, there is no try, because I figured those are, one, I love that quote, first and foremost. Second, I figured those are words that will pop up pretty naturally in book titles, although funnily enough, I've read this many books and hasn't popped up at all. But the word I was most worried about is try. So I did go through and find a bunch of books that could count for try, and then there's just a whole lot that I'm like having options for if I do end up struggling as the year goes on. Next is Spooky Creatures, which I am cruising right along in. So you need to get Vampire, Shifter, Magic User, Fae Folk, Spirit, Merfolk, Zombie, or Other Creature. So I did, for Vampire and Shifter, I used the Zodiac Academy novella, Origins of an Academy Bully, because it centers around a vampire and a dragon shifter. So it was kind of perfect to just slot right in there. I was able to read about witches in Rebel Witch and ghosts in The Ravenous Dead. And we have Becoming the Avatar, which means you need to have either the word in the title or imagery on the cover of the 4 elements. So water, earth, fire, air. You don't need to do both. You'll be good if you only have one, but if you get both, you get bonus points. So that is something that is always in my mind, because I would love to earn those triple ups and possible rereads. As of right now, I only have Air of Fire. Next is the Readathon Challenge. So this is when you have everyone participates in readathons all throughout the year. It's just a thing that we do. But this one, you have to pick a readathon that occurs anytime in the time frame of the month. or not the month, of the year, and you have to make sure you complete every prompt. So I am choosing the Amazing Readathon for 2026. For right now, that's my intent, because I know I'm doing my last year of college from next week, August 25th, until mid-May. So I don't want to be pressured into needing to also read a bunch of readathon books. So I figured June 2026 is going to be the first month where I'm like free and I don't have college. So I plan on using TAR for that. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll find something sooner, but this is the goal for right now. Then we have animals. So for animals, you need a book that strongly features house pets, exotic pets, farm animals, wild animals, or zoo animals. Now, this is kind of left up to your own discretion as what qualifies for each category, but I will see when I get there. House pets or wild animals, I've been reading the Warrior Cat series by Aaron Hunter, and technically they're house pets, but also technically in this world, they're wild animals because they're just chilling in the forest. So maybe I'll count that, maybe I won't, but we'll see when I get there, because there's also plenty of other books that could feature wild animals. Moving right along, we're cruising. Next is the queer alphabet. Now, I have not read anything for this yet, which to me is kind of disappointing. I wish that I had, because I would like to seek out more of these stories, but I do have a couple like options for ones that I don't think will come up naturally. So I will probably be reading any of these options that are here to fill out those spots. Your favorite hrcyed 1 prompt. So down here, you can see all of the prompts that are available for that were used in the first round of hrcyed. Now, I chose to read an entire series with 4 or more books, and I have chosen the Dark Olympus series by Katie Robert. So that has, I don't even know how many books it has, but I will be working on reading that all throughout 2025, the end of 2025 and the beginning of 2026. Then we have the BIPOC challenge. So you need to read from 10 different authors of like that identify as some form of BIPOC. You can use the same representation more than once, but you have to use different authors. So I have Japanese for Kanetsu Yamada and Indian for Nisha Sharma. And then I feel this is something that will just come up as I read, and I will be adding as I go. Next is the new releases challenge. So for this, you have to read a new release within 60 days of publication. So for example, in May, Silver Elite came out on like May 6th, I think, and I finished it July 5th. So I just hit that 60-day mark, and I figured I'd count it now so that I don't have to worry about it in the future. And then like for my July release, I plan on reading Arcana Academy soon-ish, before September 22nd at least. But yeah, this is something I need to seek out more. As you can see, I've got a couple options down here for July, November, and December. And when I go into my like series tracker, there are some upcoming continuations in series that could very easily fill this out for me. Next is challenge yourself, which there is no real like template for this, because you can make this category whatever you want. For me, I am doing completing 10 series because I have so many series in progress that I just need to start actually finishing them. So far, I have finished Rebel Blue Ranch, and when I finish the book I am currently reading, I will be finishing the Bridgerton series. So we'll see how this goes. I'm hoping to reach it. And I'm also like, I'm only counting, I think, don't quote me, but I think I'm only doing book series that are like actually complete. Like, there are no more books coming, because otherwise I could technically read, like, I mean, I already counted it, but I could read Silver Elite and be like, huh, I'm done with the series, but that doesn't count. Next is the nonfiction challenge. So you have to read 5 different subgenres of nonfiction. This one I'm nervous about because the only nonfiction I read regularly is memoirs. So I'm going to have to really get outside of my comfort zone here. And I am looking forward to it because it'll be new, it'll be different, but I think it'll be interesting. I'll definitely learn a lot through this. And finally, we have Q's recommendations. So this is the point of this is basically to get you to watch Q's content, because this is their challenge. You should be following and interacting with them in order to, like, truly appreciate what's happening here. So you need something from a mini review, something from a full reading vlog, and something from a YouTube short, TikTok, or Instagram reel. So I haven't found one for the full reading vlog yet, but I've found a couple books that should work out for this. And then for the sake of the spreadsheet, they want you to say, like, how you think it ranks, like, compared to how Q felt about it. So there you have it. That is my entire hrcyed 2.0 spreadsheet with current reads, plans, all the things. If you have suggestions for any of the prompts that I don't seem to have ideas for, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below, because I'm looking for options. I'm always looking for books to read, and I would love to see what you guys think I should be reading in the next year. But if you have made it this far and are not feeling chatty, leave a rainbow emoji in the comments down below to represent the even bigger queer rainbow. And I hope you're having a great whatever, and happy time zone.